Hello everyone and welcome back to Destiny Tunes. It's Destiny here. So when it comes to cartoons that are geared towards children, having banned episodes or deleted scenes is pretty common. With certain series, it's even expected to happen. But when it comes to the series and movies produced by Disney, this is something that you don't see very often, especially in the content having to do directly with the mascot of the company or his group of friends. I have covered a ton of canceled series, episodes, and deleted scenes over on my TikTok page from all kinds of networks, and even to this day, I only know about like 2 Mickey Mouse episodes that have ever been censored to the public, and one of those episodes we will be talking about today. The episode Minnie Takes Care of Pluto was part of a series titled Mickey Mouse Works, which is basically a series comprised of different shorts containing Mickey or his classic group of friends. Now this isn't an episode that simply has certain parts censored out, but the entire episode itself was full-on banned from airing after complaints of the episode being too dark and scary for its intended audience. Now you might be thinking, well Destiny, it's Disney, how dark could it possibly be? Now personally, I feel like I've seen far darker imagery from other Disney classics like The Black Cauldron or The Hunchback of Notre Dame, for example, but when it comes to the content that people are expecting to come from a short involving beloved characters like Minnie and Pluto, I will say that I understand why the youngsters would feel off-put by this episode. So the episode starts off with Mickey showing up to Minnie's house unannounced, and he basically dumps Pluto on her without even giving her the chance to accept or decline the responsibility of taking care of him for the afternoon. Now Minnie tries telling Mickey that she's busy, but unfortunately she's ignored and Mickey makes a fast dash out of there. Naturally, Minnie is upset by this because who wouldn't be? Personally, I've been put in situations similar to this many a times, and I completely understand the frustration that Minnie is feeling. Now, what I don't quite understand is, why is Minnie taking this frustration out on Pluto, who has absolutely no choice in this matter? Minnie explains to Pluto that she's going to be doing some spring cleaning and further expresses how she is upset at Mickey for ruining her plans. Now, although she is annoyed, she does let Pluto know that she still loves him either way, but she would like for him to stay out of her way so that she can do what she needs to do. Now, the entirety of this episode could have simply been avoided if Pluto was actually listening to what Minnie was saying. But no, instead, he only ends up catching the last bit of it where she angrily tells him to stay out of her way, which again, I will say was kinda mean and unnecessary, but this causes Pluto to start second-guessing Minnie's feelings towards him. It's after this that we're introduced to the angel and demon characters who will end up guiding Pluto throughout this episode. The demon character is there to fill Pluto up with paranoia about this entire situation. He tries convincing Pluto that Minnie wants to get rid of him, and although the angel character tries reassuring Pluto that this isn't true, Pluto ends up leaning more towards the demon character, unfortunately. Due to his paranoia, Pluto ends up making up multiple different situations in his head of Minnie actually trying to hurt or even kill him. The first illusion occurs during lunchtime. Minnie goes to feed Pluto the can of dog food provided by Mickey, and there is a jar of boysenberry jam on the shelf. She doesn't even add this to the food, but for some reason, the demon character convinces Pluto that the jar didn't contain boysenberry jam, but rather poison, and that Minnie was using it in order to get rid of Pluto for good. The short then cuts to a scene of Pluto eating the poison food, and he dies shortly after, appearing only as a skeleton with Minnie laughing maniacally at the dog's outcome. Now again, as an adult, something like this isn't really fear-inducing at all, but I will say that there definitely is a level of darkness to it. To a child, even the idea of a character like Minnie wanting to harm Pluto can be really hard to watch. Not to mention, seeing a skeleton as a child can be kinda scary, especially with intentional murder being tied to it. Pluto then snaps back to reality and starts completely freaking out when Minnie tries offering him the food. She also ends up freaking out, and so she moves him to a separate room, asking him to stay there so that she can get some cleaning done. The angel character tries urging Pluto to cooperate with Minnie's wishes, but the demon character quickly swoops in and fills Pluto's head up with more fear. Minnie finally gets around to her spring cleaning, moving a big chest around the house for whatever reason, and this triggers the second made-up situation in Pluto's head. Pluto thinks that the chest and the hole that Minnie is digging outside is for him. he sees a vision of Minnie locking him inside of the chest and then throwing it in a hole just to bury him alive. In actuality, Minnie is just digging the hole so that she can plant a tree in her backyard, but by this point, there's no point in trying to reason with Pluto because the demon character has him fully convinced that Minnie is out to get him. Pluto ends up walking in on Minnie, polishing her spoons, and fear must truly make you see some crazy things because I have no idea how he mistakes a spoon for a spiked mace, but he does. You can probably guess what the last vision entails by now, but in case you didn't guess, he ends up seeing Minnie attempting to attack him with the mace as he runs for his life. I'm not even sure why the angel character is still wasting their breath at this point, but they warn Pluto that if he doesn't stop believing what the demon character is saying, that it will lead to serious trouble. But fear is the true winner in this conversation because the angel character is completely ignored, and out of fear, Pluto runs and hides underneath the bed. The demon character tells him that he has to stop running and take Minnie out before she takes him out. Now, it's important to note that everything Pluto is seeing pertaining to Minnie is all just an illusion in his head, but the plan that he has to take Minnie out is real and would actually lead to Minnie being injured in the real world. In order to stop her from getting rid of him, Pluto grabs a bowling ball, which I can only assume he wanted to use to either drop on Minnie or find some way to hit her with it. Again, if this all had actually played out, then this would have seriously injured Minnie, resulting in a TBI or something, maybe even actual death. Obviously, this plan falls through, and instead of hurting Minnie with the bowling ball, one of those silly cartoon freak accidents happens, leaving a giant hole in Minnie's living room floor and Pluto crashing in on it. After the bookcase also falls on top of him, it appears that Pluto was killed in this situation, and in the afterlife, he appears to be on the outskirts of heaven or something like that, where the angel character denies Pluto injury because he failed to listen to what they had to say. Since Pluto sided with the demon character and attempted to harm Minnie, he is labeled as a bad dog and is swiftly sent down to doggy hell. Down in hell, the demon character is no longer that character who is quote-unquote looking out for Pluto, but instead is there solely to present Pluto with his internal fate for being there in the underworld. Now, as if showing a character being sent to hell wasn't crazy enough, Pluto's internal fate was even worse. For his crime of plotting to kill Minnie, Pluto was doomed to be a living fire hydrant for dogs in hell to do, well, what dogs usually do on fire hydrants. When I first saw this episode, I genuinely thought that this scene was kind of funny, but now that I'm thinking about it, it's actually kind of weird and gross. To make someone a living toilet is okay. Luckily for Pluto, his time in hell was only just a dream, and he wakes up to find both Mickey and Minnie there to help him out of the hole, putting to rest all of those negative thoughts that he had about Minnie. Now, I'm pretty sure that this episode was created with the intention of teaching kids to make good decisions and not to listen to people who are there to put bad ideas in their head. Maybe even a little lesson on the importance of actually listening to those around you instead of making decisions when you don't have the full context. The more that I covered these banned episodes, the more that I started to recognize what these kind of episodes looked like and the exact moments that got them banned in the first place. And there are actually quite a few that I marked in my mental notes for this one. The imagery is what plays the biggest part in any cartoon geared towards a younger audience, basically, I would say. And in this episode, there is some imagery that could be considered dark, like the skeleton that I mentioned earlier, the weaponry, Pluto being buried alive, Pluto being poisoned, the violence in general, etc. There's also dialogue like the creepy laughs, the demon character calling Pluto a bloody hound, and all the talk of getting rid of characters insinuating either harming or killing them. If I were looking at this from the perspective of a parent, then I think I would fully agree that this episode just doesn't fit in with what Mickey Mouse cartoons are typically about. Now, if this were the Looney Tunes or something like that, then I feel like kids would know what to expect, but no one was thinking that they were going to be getting an episode about paranoid Pluto and evil Minnie from a classic Mickey cartoon. Also, the addition of religion also rubbed me the wrong way. As someone who isn't religious, it would be upsetting for a child to think that making a bad choice means that they are doomed to an eternal fate in the depths of a fiery hell. That entire scene felt very unnecessary to me and just tried to use religion as a way to frighten kids, and quite frankly, it's weird. Fear tactics over educating is always going to be a no-no in my book, but that's just me. When it comes to censoring media, I tend to lean more against it, but it really does come down to why it's being censored or banned, and the intended age demographic. As adults, we might look at something and not quite understand, but the perspective of a child is so different from ours. But what do you think? From what I presented in this video, do you think that banning this episode was justified or not? Also, take fully into account the age demographic that this episode would be targeted towards. If it was targeted towards me as an adult, I would be completely fine with it. But children, their mindset is completely different from ours, especially a young demographic. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to leave it a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a video in the future. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!